Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Eindbazen. And Eindbazen is a Dutch podcast. And Eindbazen means, it's actually slang for final bosses. Meaning that we interview final bosses in our studio. Well, a final boss means that you're somebody with unique skills, unique knowledge, or unique experience that you want to share with the world. So we have all kinds of interesting guests here. We talk for 2 hours with them. And sometimes, occasionally, we do an international podcast as well. We had Steve Maxwell before and David Allen, a Peruvian shaman. And today we had a whole new spectrum of two powerhouses of the sport of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And I'm really proud and honored to have had these guys in our studio. The old school Brazilian Jiu Jitsu fighter, Vinicius Magalhães. I hope I spell his name right. His nickname is Draculino. And he's one of the old school jiu-jitsu guys who grew up with the Gracie family. And it was really funny to talk with him about the old days where he saw the Gracie guys, Renzo Gracie, Rickson Gracie, being on the beach, surfing, and everybody was afraid of Renzo. While Renzo was a really small guy and he wondered why, and that's how he got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it was really funny to hear all the old school stories. And he made an interesting journey himself where he went from Rio de Janeiro to Belo Horizonte, where he created his own Gracie Barra school, which is the association he's representing. And from there he went to Texas, USA to open his new school and spreading a love for Jiu-Jitsu there in America. He's doing really well. He's traveling, doing seminars and graduations as he is here today in Amsterdam. And he brought a friend with him, and this friend is not unknown in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, in the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His name is Victor Estima. Victor is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, 3rd degree. This guy's a monster on the mat. He fought in ADCC, he's a medalist there. He was a Nogi world champion. And, it's been really funny because I've been knowing these guys for a while. I know Draculino for 15 years already, and I met Victor years ago when he was a brown belt, when he was coming from Brazil to Europe and had the first seminar. And he was the first guy that was doing all this flying stuff, flying triangles and advanced ways to jump the guard, and his game was the new Jiu-Jitsu as we see it today. So I was really happy to have these guys here in the studio. They're both representing Gracie Barra. And they're traveling to Europe to spread the message. And their mission is to make the world a little bit better if everybody practices Jiu-Jitsu. That's their vision, and I think it's true. So if you love the sport of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you will love this episode with an old school fighter, Draculino, and a new school kid, Victor Estima.
This podcast is sponsored by Nutrofit, official distributor of Onnit supplements in the Benelux and powerful supplier of bulletproof and natural stacks. Your online place to buy supplements and training gear that will help you achieve total human optimization. Try with no risk with our Nutrofit money back guarantee, shipping all across Europe within 24 hours. Find us at www.nutrofit.com.
So, well, it's another international podcast today.
Back once again, in English.
In our new studio. So, I'm really honored today, man. We've both been big fans and practitioners of martial arts, always. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has always been an important thing in my life. And, I can't think of anything else that changed my life more than Jiu-Jitsu itself. So it's a real big honor today to have two of the badasses of the sport in our studio. And we've got a 5th degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, Vinicius Draculino.
That's it.
What do you say? Like Vinicius Magalhães?
Vinicius Magalhães.
Welcome.
Don't even try, brother.
Dracu. I'm just going to throw it Draculino.
That's good.
And if your nickname is Draculino, you've done something bad.
Yeah, we're going to get into that because I'm very curious about the origin stories of that one.
And,
there's a lot of theories. I'm going to tell you the whole truth. I promise you.
All right.
And I know you can give the younger ones still, you can give them a hard time. But we have a younger generation fighter here as well. It's Victor Estima, 3rd degree black belt. Welcome to the studio, man.
Thank you guys. It's an honor to be here.
Really honored here. So, well, we're going to talk about Jiu Jitsu. And I think a lot of our listeners don't even know the exact things about Jiu Jitsu and how it kind of disrupted the martial art industry. And when was it? 1993? When Royce
that was
Gracie?
the I would call the world explosion.
Yeah.
You know?
So what happened there was like we had the first Ultimate Fighting Championships where we put people in a cage, style versus style, boxing versus wrestling, Aikido versus Judo, and basically it ended up with a 70-kilogram guy. What was Royce Gracie? And how old was he?
I think he was in his late 20s, if I'm not mistaken, like around 28, 29.
Late 20s.
Something like that, yeah. I'm almost sure.
And he kind of choked his way out during like 3 opponents in one night, and did it pretty much without using too much violence.
Yes.
And that is really what is Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is all about. So, you know, we have a lot of questions for you, but what I really like to start out with is like, you're the old school Jiu Jitsu guy here. You grew up with the Gracies, right?
Yeah.
You've been training with Renzo.
Half, Ryan. I mean, can I go on now?
Yeah, go on, man. Go on. I know this guy. Put him in front of a mic and he starts talking. So go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I have a few.
We have 2 hours.
It's a funny thing because I started in martial arts in judo. Mm-hmm. So when I was really young, I would say 5, I trained judo till I was on my 9 years old. And then I moved from one place in Rio de Janeiro to another. Mm-hmm. So I moved to a beach place. And I actually lived like really close to the beach, like pretty much beachfront. And then surfing was something that came naturally to me. So I was surfing pretty much every day. I got hooked. Like still surfing for me is one of my biggest passions, you know.
Yeah.
And then through surfing, I got to meet a lot of people. And then a lot of people that you guys already know nowadays for names. Like Renzo Gracie, Half Gracie, Ryan Gracie, my friend that unfortunately passed away.
Yeah.
Roberto Gordo, and Carlos Gracie Jr., Helion Gracie. So a lot of those guys were surfing on the spot that you like to surf. So we got to be friends, you know. We pretty much like same neighborhood. So we got to be friends, and everybody hooked on surfing. And what attracted me in Jiu-Jitsu, I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm gonna tell the whole truth, is that I could see that Renzo was a little older than me. He's a little older than me, mm-hmm. and he was a little skinny guy. But man, he was the king of the beach. You know, I mean, everybody was scared of Renzo. Renzo was like the sheriff. Uh-huh. He used to surf on this spot called Quebra-Mar. And the local guys, was one of those guys, who used to put like a flag on top of the pier. Not a pier, it was like a jetty with rocks. Mm-hmm. Now there's a pier there, but before it was just a jetty. And they put like a flag with like a big head skull. And that this flag was that on the end of the jetty, so to the left of the flags, only locals. To the other, non-locals. So if you're non-local going after the flag, like the imaginary line of the flag, say, hey, man, you get the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's not for you here. And Renzo was the sheriff coordinating all that. but it wasn't like a thug thing. It was just like everybody on that crew. I mean, we were kind of like intense, and there was a lot of fights, I'm not gonna lie. But the cool thing is that everybody was like, no drugs, no cigarettes, because of the Gracie family influence. So everybody was intense, but not because of anything related to drugs or drinks or anything. So that's the kind of environment that I was. And then, man, I was like, you know, Renzo's like a small guy like that. And he's a badass. I want to be a badass too, man, you know. And then I had judo, so I began to train. The first guy actually to teach me jiu-jitsu was one of the locals there, one of the surfer locals, who was like one of the badasses too, like big guy. Pitoko, his name is Tochila Jordan. He's a 6th degree black belt nowadays. Mm-hmm. And the rest was history, man. I mean, my first day, like in jiu-jitsu, a girl kicked my ass really bad. And I'm not a pussy, man. I'm not a quitter. Instead of like leaving, I was like, man, I got to go back and learn that thing.
Yeah.
And the rest is history, you know. That's pretty much how it all started.
You grew up in Barra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barra Tijuca.
Actually, my grandmother and my grandfather, they were one of the first people to actually live in Barra, because Barra was just a remote beach. Everybody lived in other parts of Rio, and we go to Barra just to kind of like sightseeing. It was like a very, very virgin beach.
Yeah.
And then like little by little, now it's like Miami there, you know, like changed a lot, you know.
One of the things that everybody knows, you were talking like there were a lot of fights there, like on the beach, everywhere. If you look on the YouTube videos, the Gracie family actually rewarded people to get to their gym and challenge them for a fight. Like I think it's like $500 or something, which is a pretty big amount at the time.
Yeah.
So if you were some kind of kickboxing guy you were thinking you were the best.
Chip on your shoulder, you thought you could do it. Yeah.
You could go to the gym and challenge the teacher.
Yeah.
And that's the movies that we see on YouTube where you see people get beat up really bad in somebody else's school. It is pretty intense. But you also see the street fights like Rickson versus Duarte and
that was right in front of my house. I used to live like literally in front of the place. They call that area Pepe Beach. It was right there. But I wasn't there, unfortunately.
And was it only like gym feuds? Like you know, you were talking, it got intense on the beach. Was that just guys like, you know, one gym met another gym and it was like this rivalry, or was there?
I'm not going to lie to you, man. Nowadays, everything is very civilized.
All right.
Back in the days, on the 80s, it was really primal. You know, yeah.
I mean, it's a touristic place now. It's pretty.
It is now, yeah. But before, it used to be like the areas in Rio, it was naturally rivalry with other areas. So if you're from Barra, you're going to probably naturally have a feud with the guys from Copacabana. There was already a more
tribe
established place. So it was kind of like a very tribe thing. Within the schools of jiu-jitsu, the biggest rivalry probably in history was Gracie Barra versus Rickson Gracie. And I was like, right at the time when it was on its peak. You didn't see a lot of fights, like real fights, but the rivalry in the match was huge. Like, I mean,
during tournaments,
you could cut the air with the tension during the tournaments. You know, like when you're going against the Rickson guys, like our teachers were like, man, you know, that's it. It's all you. Don't make me look bad. Go there, and the same thing with the Rickson guys. So it would be like wars.
That must have been a great environment to learn jiu-jitsu in.
Because
it's a pressure cooker.
It was. I mean, because there wasn't a lot of people like it is nowadays. The mentality was a little different. I mean, everything evolves in life, and jiu-jitsu is no different. But before, it was all about the love for your flag, 100%. And don't make your family look bad.
All right. Yeah.
So we trained like our asses to go there and do our best. And even sometimes when you didn't win, the most important thing is to leave everything in there. One of the things that I learned from the Gracies and I still carry is that losing and winning, it's in the hands of God. But it's how you do, how you perform that tells you if you're a good or a bad guy. If you go there just to be there, whatever, like tap fast or you know, that's really bad. I mean, they hate that. And I hate that too. If you go there, nobody's obligating you to go. You go there and do your best. Like I said, the result doesn't matter. You just leave everything in there. So that's probably, you know, like old school mentality that I still carry, you know.
But I think the old school mentality is getting to the younger ones as well. Because next to you is Victor. You're from Recife, right? Which is the upper north of
northeast of Brazil. Yeah.
All right. So how was it for you growing up in Brazil and looking at the old school guys setting up Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in the world?
Well, I have to say, for me, the start was slightly different than to what for Professor Draculino. You know, I lived completely away from where the Jiu Jitsu was being developed. You know, in my school there, we had my professor who had a connection with Marcia Carlos, and he was bringing, you know, instructions. So we basically created our own tribe, if you know what I mean. And we didn't have as much access to the techniques, to the level of jiu-jitsu that people in Rio had, but we had a lot in hard work, you know. We worked so hard in everything we did. We had a very good, my professor was very good to bring the best out of every single student in the school. So everybody was tailored for competition. And because we had a very difficult, not financial support, and in any competition we had to have was outside the state. So we basically made our whole life project to go to Rio de Janeiro once a year to the major tournament. And for me at that time when I started, I didn't even have a black belt instructor.
Yeah.
You know, he was a purple belt. Then Professor Zé Radiola. And that's when I started to connect in Rio de Janeiro. I went to the first time, and I was inspired to see all those guys, you know, Professor Draculino.
What year was this that you went up?
My first time in Rio de Janeiro was 2002.
2002. When did you start training?
1989. 1989.
15 years old or so.
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah.
So basically, when I was coming to Rio, they used to be like, for us, our idols, you know. When I see a black belt in front, so this guy is a black belt. It was the most special thing for us. and then I barely knew who was who.
Yeah, I have a question about that, because this was before the heydays of the internet. So how did you guys know about all these professors, or was it already online a little?
Like personally, I didn't know.
No.
I just knew the Gracies.
Yeah. Because I was wondering about that, because at your time, it was Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and even in your time, was it, did everybody know about it? Because we think about Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, everybody in Brazil must do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, but it must be a niche, right?
It was Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro was the peak, where the media was all around that, on everything, it was word of mouth that was very strong there.
So that's how you learned about it?
I learned about it from watching the UFC.
All right.
Royce Gracie fighting. I used to get together as a kid watching with my brother. And then my brother started to do judo, and his friends started to find out about jiu-jitsu. So Braulio went to do a session, and he really enjoyed it. And then I heard for the first time about jiu-jitsu, and the thing that I was training there was the same thing I saw Royce Gracie doing. It's like, oh, that's interesting. But I still didn't get into it until a few years later.
Right.
And then for me to know anything about techniques, that was like only directly to the school. And then only in a few years later, Gracie magazine started to be sold in my state, because at that time, not even Gracie magazine existed. And that's why everything was all about training with my professor, instructor at that time, and going to maybe Rio de Janeiro to once a year to learn some extra bits. You know, I was very fortunate because my brother came in the generation before me. There was not many people before him. He was the first solid guy, and he would still go. He was the best in the northeast of Brazil, and he used to go to Rio de Janeiro and lose in the first fight. So there was not much of a reference to us. It was really hard.
I remember him telling that your brother is Braulio Estima.
Yeah.
And I had a few seminars with him and know him pretty well. He told me, like, man, I went out with a few $100 and buy my ticket and go out in the first round and go back afterwards. And it really, I remembered that story when I went to the World Championships and lost, paying a $3,000 ticket, staying there and all that. You know. Well, as a competitor, you know it. And
that's very. This is very challenging, like especially like my brother and myself. You know, like my brother was already more developed in jiu-jitsu, so if any support came, was to him because he was the bigger name. Everybody else still didn't have any support. You know, for me to be able to get to my first tournament outside Recife, I had to save R$2 per day my dad used to give him for lunch at school, and I saved that for like several months.
R$2 is like
I would say 70 cents.
7 cents per day, and I saved that. No food.
Actually 60.
And then for 6 months, even getting help from my friends who had a bit more money, and I get bites in the middle of, hey, can I try this? It looks good. Because I was hungry like crazy, but I couldn't eat, And so things like that, that's what I had to do to go to one-time tournament, which is the World Championships in Rio de Janeiro.
So while you were training, you weren't even getting proper nutrition because you couldn't afford it to get to the tournament.
Of course, when I come home, I had my main meal, but I was there like struggling in school, like holding like focus though. That kept me focused and wanting to be there. Every single day I thought about it. So that kind of led me to follow the process. And having my brother inspire me helped me quite a lot.
So what are your chances of, I don't know how to say this, like what are your chances of having a proper decent life, like the life you're living right now? Because you moved to the United States, you moved to England. What were the chances if you didn't get into jiu-jitsu and just... you can never know, but what's the average... what are your friends doing?
That's the tricky bit. Like in Brazil, it's very challenging. It's all about who you know. It's all about the opportunities that you have to actually get educated. To have like you have to be very good at studies to get the public sector, like university, or you have to pay. So both ways are very, very difficult. Yeah. And then most people in Brazil, especially in my city, everybody has a degree. So having a degree does no longer get you any further. So it comes eventually how really good you are, if you really excel, or who you know. Yeah. Some people very low qualified knows the right people and they get to places. Yeah. And people who are very good at something, maybe they have to be the best to be recognized. Yeah. So I grew up with the mentality having to be the best in what you do in order to accomplish anything. Yeah. Average is not in my DNA, Yeah. I have to be the best in what I do in order to get any sort of, results. There's no average. Yeah. So growing up with this kind of mentality was like what made us move away to other fields. Yeah. If I would have stayed back home, I probably would be working really hard in a normal job to be able to afford my university, to be able to be in exactly the same position like hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And then I would have to be counting on luck.
You have to be?
Count on luck.
Yeah. I mean, it's not enough.
It's not enough to do do everything you can. It's not enough.
Yeah. In Brazil, to make it in Brazil is possible, but it's extremely hard, and it's hard for you guys here and even in America to understand. Like there's no guarantees or anything. No. In Brazil, we say, man, you have to kill one lion every day.
Can you explain that to me, like a privileged white guy from Holland that's had every luck in the world? I realize I won the Galactic Lottery. Yeah. How can you make me understand what it's like to be from where you're from and how that diminishes your opportunities? So what do you have to face that I have no idea about that exists in life?
Man, like I have a good example to give you.
One of my best friends, Renzo on the beach.
Yeah, that's a good example. True.
One of my best friends, he's from Australia, and he moved to Brazil because he got married to a Brazilian lady. And he lived in Brazil for 10 years. Now he lives in London. His name is Stephen Fabian. He's one of my best friends. And this guy is an amazing guy. And what happened to him was exactly what he tried to ask from me what happened. He went there being very successful. His business venture didn't do well at all there. So everything would turn upside down. So he saw and he experienced the life of a Brazilian family that were not doing well financially and emotionally and in all relations. And man, this guy's one of the strongest guys in the world because he could just leave. He didn't have a kid back then. He was just him and his wife, and he was having problems with his ex-wife and all that. He could just leave. And sometimes I used to train him and teach him private classes. He goes like, man, sometimes I think like I don't need to be dealing with all that shit. I don't know how you guys make it. I don't know how you guys are always smiling in this country and being like, I mean, most of the times people try to screw you up and do all that. I mean, sometimes I want to give up, and I do like the typical Brazilian way. I said, brother, in the end, everything is going to work out. Don't worry. That's the only thing I could tell him.
And that's it.
And that's how I do to everybody. I still have that thing from my culture that when people tells you all this kind of sad stories, man, this is going on, I don't know what to do. It's like, man, at the end of the day, everything's gonna be all right. Just run through the storm, and everything's gonna be fine. And that's how we go day by day there.
You can't do anything else, right?
What are you
It's the
gonna
only
do?
thing you can do.
Yeah, yeah.
And you notice that
Hope is a very big thing, isn't it?
most of Brazilian think that people, they're really happy all the time, and man, people don't have nothing.
But question about that then. When you started, so when you walked out your house to that beach, did you have any idea that this could have been in store for you? I mean, what a surprise that must
No.
have been. You're traveling all over the world and you're
No
doing
idea.
these awesome things. And
No
how's,
idea,
how's
man.
that to
No idea.
look at where you're coming from and being here?
Man, like, I keep telling myself, because I have a law degree. I'm actually a lawyer in Brazil.
Really?
Yeah, I have even my certificate, but I mean, I don't practice, but I still have to pay every year, and I know that because a lot of money. So to be bar on the bar.
Yeah.
But anyways, like, Jiu-Jitsu began to be in my life. In the beginning, it was something that I really loved to do. But then I felt that it was not something that I loved to do anymore. It was part of me. It was too late. If you took Jiu-Jitsu out of me, I don't see how I could exist and function, to be honest with you. It got on that point. Everything, the way I behave, the way I deal with problems, the way I treat my family and my friends, everything was related to Jiu-Jitsu somehow. And when I realized that, I was like, man, I got to figure out a way to do this for the rest of my life. But I'm kind of, I don't know, because there's not a lot of money involved, and I don't know. I was kind of like questioning myself. So it was like a part of my life that I was like really in a crossroads, to be honest. And then a car ride changed that for me. And there was a car ride in California going to the Six Flags amusement park. They have the roller coasters and all that. And it was me, my master Carlos Gracie Jr., and his ex-wife. Her name is Adriana. So the car ride was like 2 hours. And then Master Carlos, my master, he goes to me and say, hey, so what's up? What are you going to do now? You won like big tournaments, you have a lot of talent, you're a really educated guy. What do you want to do with your life? I was like, man, I don't know, master. I'm on this crossroads. And he goes like, I tell you that. Believe in Jiu-Jitsu because we're going to conquer the world. He told me that. And I need you to expand on what we do to other places. And back in the day, he had a project to go to Australia. I remember this was 1995. And he talked about the Australia idea, and man, I got excited, you know. Like, we're going to begin something on a virgin soil in another country, in a country that is amazing, that has great waves, I could surf and all that. So I was really excited, you know. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it didn't work out because the Australian laws, and you know, it didn't work out there. But I moved to a different city than Rio called Belo Horizonte, and Belo Horizonte is the third biggest city in the country. And man, I began my work there, and nowadays you see, man, I did extremely well, thank God, and I could provide for my family, no problem. I probably had more financial success doing Jiu-Jitsu than I would in my law career. I don't know. And man, the thing is that I believed 100% after this talk, and I said, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dive into that, and that's going to be my 100% goal, focus. And it worked out, man. Like, look at us right now. I'm talking here
in Holland,
in Amsterdam, for a podcast about Jiu-Jitsu, about all my experience. Man, I came from a time that you could never imagine in your wildest dreams that it could happen.
Spreading the
But
gospel.
my master saw it.
That's good.
He's a visionary. He saw it, and I was there when he was telling this to more people, and people were laughing, like, behind his back. He was like, man, we're going to have tournaments, international tournaments, with more than 1,000 people. And then he turns it back, and people are like, crazy.
But were those people that did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, they did, but Jiu-Jitsu, they were part of our group. But they didn't believe.
Not everybody can see the same
thing.
Right?
They're like thinking that Master Carlos was crazy. Like a megalomaniac or something.
Yeah.
Thinks, you know? And now, man, there's no international tournaments with 1,000 people.
Yeah,
they have like 4,000 people in the Europeans.
Yes.
So, you know, I mean, it's amazing, man. I'm really blessed to be part of all that. I mean, God is great, man. Seriously, I mean, my life is amazing. I mean,
What's wonderful about it is that you're not only touching people with a great sport. The way Wigert started the podcast is that Brazilian Jiu Jitsu was a big part of our life growing up, but it did so much more for us than just teach us martial arts techniques. And I heard you say something very interesting about I am Jiu Jitsu, and it transfers to all aspects of my life, like relationships or my job. Could you tell a little bit more about that? And I'm wondering in the same vein if that is true for you. So I'm wondering how you guys look at that.
well, is it true for you too?
100%. Jiu-jitsu is the way I think. Jiu-jitsu is the way I deal with problems. Jiu-jitsu is the way I interact with people.
Could you go into that a little? For example, you have a problem, but every guy knows issues like this with your girlfriend. How does Jiu-Jitsu help you in dealing with stuff like that?
Let's say in Jiu-Jitsu, we have like challenges, right? You like got a position that you're stuck. You cannot run away from that position. You have to kind of calm down, have to chill, and work the problem out.
Yeah.
Like the mentality of being calm under pressure, to be able to, and that's the only way that we're gonna solve the issue, right? So be able to wait for the thing to kind of settle down a little bit, be able to kind of come with the right solution, the right time. It comes with being comfortable in being under pressure and still rationalize. And this is something that I take a lot from Jiu-Jitsu, you know, like, and how I'm gonna, you know, fix a technique, how I'm gonna play with the attacks, for example. Like, I can never, if I want to get the guy's guard past, I would not go straight to the place that I really want to end up. I'll go to a place, I ask for a reaction, and then whenever he reacts according to my position, I'll change positions. So it's not going like a crazy to a one point, you know, like a one egg in a basket, everything there, and I would be able to go, you know, setting everything up rather than be so obvious.
It's like playing chess.
Playing the chess.
It is 100% playing chess, man.
So you can translate that to life and how you juggle activities and job descriptions and talking to people.
Exactly.
You know, and this is something that, you know,
Man, I just, sorry to interrupt, but you know what it is? Like the Jiu-Jitsu dojo, it's a replication of life for me. Because one day you're going to do great and you're going to feel invincible. One day you're going to be destroyed and then you have to suck it up and deal with that. One day you're not going to feel like going there and you're going to go by, just like you say in Brazil, pushing with the belly. You know? Another day you can't wait to be there. You're going to face opponents that will get some kind of reaction from you that is different to the next one. And more importantly, I think, that translates to life, is that the Jiu-Jitsu dojo, man, inside those lines, everybody's the same. I never saw a bigger equalizer in my life than a Jiu-Jitsu dojo. Everybody who's in there, man, if you reach, if you're famous, if you're badass, doesn't matter. No. If you're not the best technical guy, you're gonna tap to to the nerd that used to bully in school before. And you have to take it as a man. Because if you act like a jerk, you're gonna be beat up. You know what I mean? So this teaches this guy what? To be humble. To suck it up like a man and do what you need to do and accept that. And at the same time, the nerd, the social oppressed guy that was always like, you know, bullied and humiliated, this guy beats this badass bully and gives this guy a boost of confidence that changes a guy's life. So it doesn't matter, man. This guy get this social oppressed guy that barely could get out of the room. This guy goes to a business meeting, or this guy goes to do a presentation in front of everybody. In his head, in his subconscious, he goes like, man, I can beat the biggest badass bully, man.
This is so funny, man.
This is not gonna be hard for me. Come on, bring it on. Audience, I'm ready.
We can do it.
It's really funny.
We can do it. But man, like if you think about it, that's how it translates.
It's funny. We were recently at a wood chopping seminar. You know, like in the woods, wood chopping.
Yeah.
With a lot of people, and we were just standing there. The guy was instructing us. I was just thinking, like you scan everyone. You're like, oh, can probably take on everyone.
Yeah.
I told him, it was like, it's really good to know, man. Everywhere you go, you can just beat the fuck out of everyone.
but that is true a lot in a sense that the average guy, it's going to be very hard for an average guy to beat you up. This gives you more than confidence. I think this gives you peace of mind.
It does, but at the same time, I always wonder why it does. I mean, why does it matter to me that if I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm having a hard time with the guy sitting in front of me, like, you know, business-wise, and I go in the back of my mind, I could choke you the fuck out. And I'm like, oh, that feels good. And now I'm all right again. What the hell is that?
I know why. Because you're all animals, brother.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
At the end of the day, we're all animals. At the end of the day, we all operate by instincts. Yeah. And what's the instinct? This is a survival instinct. You know, it's the kind of like the survival of the fittest, whatever you want to call it. But the cool thing is that we human beings, we can process all that. So we're not like a wild animal. So this gives you confidence to make sure that you can avoid the problem, because there's no debate or no question. You know it. And this gives you peace of mind.
But this is the cool thing about
You know what I mean? That's the whole, I think that's the magic of the whole thing. That's what it is. That's where it's at, I think.
I think the whole difference is when you enter a jiu-jitsu gym, there's a natural hierarchy, right?
Yeah. The picking order.
Like if you go to a soccer team, like I see other teams doing sports, but they never fought each other. So there's a different vibe, right? Like they're playing games, they're kind of making fun of each other in a way that is going different in a jiu-jitsu gym, because you know who you can do.
Who the top dog is,
And it's not just about you being the top dog and you're going to be the most respected. For example, I'm far to be on my prime. I'm about to be 46 years old with countless surgeries and injuries, and I mean, I don't. My body doesn't function the same as before. So there's a lot of people in the room that can kick my ass in jiu-jitsu. I know that. I mean, I'm always going to be a good trainer for everybody. This I know. But I mean, that's people who can kick my ass. But the jiu-jitsu thing is so cool that you kind of get the respect for what you are and for what you stand for. So people respect you, even though they know they can kick your ass. You know what I mean? Because they go like, man, this guy walked the talk all his life, you know, and man, my time is gonna come one day. I'm gonna get old too, and I mean, and I want to be like this guy. I want to be respected like this guy, because it's the next step, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well, because the guys you were talking about are all other black belts with extreme experience in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. But I'm pretty sure that despite our age difference and our weight difference, it's going to be a single-sided story if we start rolling. You know what I mean?
I mean, could be. I mean, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
But that's the thing, probably. But that's the thing, is like it gets to a point that it's all about recognition. It's all about respect, and that comes one of the best things in martial arts too, man. The loyalty, the respect, the peace of mind, and everything. So it's a mix between the primal instincts and a lot of philosophy. We like Renzo Gracie likes to say, man, in the jiu-jitsu dojo, there's more philosophy than in a lot of books of the philosophers. It is true. And more technique than a Russian ballet too, you know what I mean? There's a lot of technique. It's a beautiful thing, you know what I mean?
There's some things that you can really learn in jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, for that matter, that you can't learn. Well, you can learn from just having conversations. For example, pressure is a great example. If you in life, if you're in a conversation and it gets, for example, you're negotiating your salary. It's pressure against pressure, right? And if you start relenting your pressure, the other side notices it. And if you've been in sparring, you felt this physically. You start giving, and he starts giving in. You start growing. You feel, he's on the verge of giving in, and you can sense that. And that translates one-on-one to all other dynamics where pressure is a factor. Only it's not a physical factor.
You said it all, man. Sure. It's a perfect translation. You feel that you have the upper hand.
Yes.
And then you push it.
Exactly.
Right? And it translates perfectly to training, to competition. You know, everybody who breaks in competition, what happens to you? Man, it gives you a boost of confidence. Like, man, now I'm going to just destroy this guy. You know what I mean? And the same thing.
100%.
The other way. Sorry.
Do you think every jiu-jitsu practitioner should compete?
I have
You
a few.
say first now.
Like I have a few ideas about that. Okay, like I truly believe on the benefits of competing. Okay, the benefits of competing. I know how much has changed me, made the person who I am today. As I'm a person who I like to put it on the line. I'm not afraid to put myself out there, and then that translates in many different things in life. You know, like you know, some people they are worried about failure. You know, so exercising the no fear of failing, it's a big factor. There are people in life that don't want to go down that path because they perhaps don't want to spend that much time and priorities in competing. They want to do their competition elsewhere. So perhaps they don't want to go through the physical pain, the physical consistency, the consistency of training. They understand that this is not the path they want to do, but I still believe that everyone should try. You know, you should challenge yourself. You should go there and give it a shot and see if you something that you want to do more of it or not. But at least you face your demons. You know.
Yeah.
And I since the first time until today, I still feel pressured. You know, when I walk on the mats, I'm exposed. Doesn't matter who I'm gonna be training against or fighting against in a competition.
Yeah.
It's that feeling of exposure that it makes me feel like I'm getting stronger. I'm even winning or losing. I go there, man. I put it on the line and handle it. Winning or losing, doesn't matter what happens in the fight. I stepped in, and again, like I really agree with Professor Draculino when he said, "It's how you perform. It's all about your intentions, how you deal with the fight. Are you a quitter?
Yeah.
Or are you going to give everything you have, even if what you have is not good enough for that fight?" I'm always going to respect 100% more a person who stepped up for a challenge and failed, and the person who never really.
Well, 100%. Yeah.
So if the person who doesn't want to compete is because they are afraid of failing, I say to that person, maybe you should try to face your demons.
Yeah.
You know, you should go there and do it. But if you're the person, no, I understand the competition. I know what it is, but I don't want to be prioritizing the competition because I have my own competition here in my work. You know, I'm a really competitor. I know what it takes to be a competitor, and I know I'm not doing that. So. Yeah. You know, it's fair enough. That's the same way I'm not going to be trying to do a podcast competition with you because I don't even understand podcasting.
Well, you're doing great so far. So
you should face your demons, man.
You know what I mean?
But he's facing now.
I'm facing my demons right now, right on this side.
That's cool. No.
So I really am a believer that everybody should experiment, because I don't think you should never say that you're not good in something or you don't like something if you never experience.
And competition is such a special experience too, because it's not just the moment where you have to compete. It's the weeks prior to it.
Sure.
And the process is the real competition.
The real competition is the process. 100%.
100%.
Yeah, and after, of course, how you stand in your victory or your defeat, or you're going to be a douchebag, or you're going to be,
a big lesson.
Yes.
This is a big lesson.
Yeah, I always. We had the privilege that in Holland you have these MMA events.
Yes.
And he organized a few, and we got backstage passes, so we got to go to the locker rooms and stuff like that. And I always remember that you can tell a lot about a guy the way he is in the last couple of minutes, hours right before his fight. You see so much going on a person's face because he has, like you said, he's going to jump into that abyss and he has no idea what's, he's going to find in there.
That's the tough part. That for me,
the lonely part as well.
Yeah.
For me, like I have a MMA fights as well. For me, the moments, I would say the hours before the fight, that's for sure the toughest moments of the fight. Doesn't matter how the outcome of the fight, if you win, if you lose, if you get beat up, if you get hurt. Trust me, all that happened to me. But it is not compared to the hours before. You begin to think, everybody, man, whoever says otherwise is lying. You get scared. You feel fear. You feel doubt. You feel pressure. All that goes through your mind, and there's nothing you can do about it. everybody who tells you, "Oh, I'm not scared, man. I fight anytime. For me, I don't feel nothing." He's either like
Crazy.
crazy,
Yeah,
like not a normal person, or he's lying.
Or he's trying to set himself up for something. He's trying to psychic himself.
Do you guys know
because that's not true. That's not true.
Do you guys know who Bob Schrijber is? Dutch MMA fighter.
Bob
Schrijber.
Yes, I remember like a bald-headed guy.
Yeah. The guy, like
he's
he was a
amazing,
tough
man.
fighter.
He was a tough guy.
He told us exactly the same, and he told us about his process in those hours prior to the match. He just put those thoughts into this little box and he stared at it, and that was his way of dealing with it. Do you guys have similar stuff?
The way I did, the way when I was to fight. The way I used to face all that, my fears and all that, is that like I had a biggest fear than all of that. My biggest fear is to be a coward. My biggest fear was to be like a pussy. That's my biggest fear. And I would rather die, fall dead, than look to my family or to my friends that I was a pussy, that I didn't even try. I needed to go there and try, so that I was thinking that I was ready to die there. I would rather die doing what I preached, walking the talk. I would rather die doing that than be a coward.
So what you did is
So it was my biggest fear. So it's like, man, I'd rather get beat up. I'd rather get, they beat the shit out of me, whatever. This is nothing compared to be known as a coward, as a pussy.
Yeah, you scared away the fear with the bigger fear.
That's
basically.
It. Yeah, that's
right.
what I did.
Psychology, eh?
I was going to MMA fights, seriously, I'm telling you. Very scared, but ready to die.
That's good.
I swear to God.
Sounds like
I was like, man, if I die here, I'm going to die happy because I'm going to die doing what I'm supposed to do on this earth.
You fought in Heat FC Brazil as well, right?
I fought Heat, I fought Strike Force.
Staat Valetudo?
Staat
Valetudo?
Yeah.
Heat FC?
Yeah.
No,
Heat FC was MMA
It was
already.
MMA because I made a pact with Eduardo Alonso.
He did a Dutch production of the show I fought.
So I did it in the Netherlands. It was really cool.
That's what it
with, Eduardo Alonso.
That was a big show.
Manager of Maya, I think.
He's manager of Damian Maya for Shogun Rua.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Awesome.
All those guys.
Cool guy.
So do you have
Cool
mind
guy.
tricks regarding to...
I have never competed in MMA, but
no, but you did a lot of tournaments.
A lot of tournaments. I think I deal in a very simple way. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen in this match?
Is it die?
Seriously. I didn't think that far. I'll be honest.
Seriously?
I didn't think that far of death in the jiu-jitsu match. I never even crossed my mind. But what's the worst thing that can happen to me in that fight, personally, was losing, getting tapped in the first 10 seconds, the first beginning of the fight. That's the worst scenario for me. And I thought that it has happened before to many great athletes. It has happened to me prior to this tournament that I'm about to fight. Nothing has changed. I'm still the man who I am.
Yeah.
I'm still the same father. I'm the father. I'm the husband. I'm the professor of my school. Nothing has changed. So I might as well go to this match giving the best out of myself.
That's it.
If I'm going to tap or lose the fight, doesn't matter how it's going to lose, man, I'm going to do it in my best. If I'm mistaken, it's an honorable thing to do. Come back home, fix my mistakes, and face it again. Quitting is not going to be an option. And I'm saying that I have trained, I have prepared myself to the best I could. If the guy beat me, he deserves it. But he's going to get to beat in my best. And I'm going to give hell to this guy to beat me. And I know if I give my best, I can win this fight.
Yeah.
So I just take away all the fear of losing. I walk it with no fear, whatever. If you want to beat me in my best. Let's go. I'm going to give you my best from the beginning to the end. And usually,
you said it right,
it gets me in my...
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
Nothing's gonna change.
Nothing's
man.
gonna change.
The sun's gonna come up as always.
The thing
Your
is
family's still gonna love you. Your friends still gonna love you. It's gonna be one more day. You know.
And loses.
Once you're
Everybody
in the
loses,
zone
man.
of competition, you know, training for weeks, and people don't understand this. Like, yeah, it's just a jiu-jitsu tournament in somewhere in Amsterdam, and you're training for it and twice a day, and you're going for it, and you're really living up to this moment. You're doing your diet, like your girlfriend's, you know, basically, you know, you're not approachable for a week.
No.
Because of, I don't know, all kinds of reasons.
You're
You have to
tired.
train, you're tired, whatever.
You're hurting.
And then you're on this mat, and all these things cross your mind, and either you win or you lose, and then at the end of the day, nobody gives a fuck, man.
No.
You know,
At the
except
end
for
of
a few
the day,
teammates
no
and your
one
trainer.
does.
Exactly.
You know?
So
Nobody
I
does.
made the competition seem irrelevant, small.
Yeah.
What is the competition versus my life?
Exactly.
What I really stand for as a man? Nothing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna give everything. I'm gonna train like really hard. I'm gonna do everything right. So when that moment comes, I deserved it. You know what I mean? I did what it takes.
And people
to,
don't understand that the most, I think, and the most rewarding thing is either to, of course, to win. But looking back on we were just talking about it before, like, I was asked in front of a lecture about spiritual growth, which is obviously something that comes in most people's life a little bit later on. I told these students, like, listen, man, the biggest spiritual growth that I encountered, looking back, is losing in jiu-jitsu competitions.
Yeah.
Fly to the other side of the world, pay your ticket, do your things, train for 8 weeks straight, and lose in the first round. That will make you a man. You know?
That
Listen,
educates you,
I have
man. That's for sure.
I have a interesting thing. You know, ADCC 2011. That was my first opportunity to step into ADCC tournament.
But for our listeners, this is the Abu Dhabi competition, which is organized by the what's the name of it?
It's the Sheikh.
The Sheikh
Of Abu Dhabi, and this is considered the Olympics of grappling.
Yeah.
So they
So
bring
they got
in
all the best grapplers. Sorry, all the best grapplers, and they invite some qualify to go and all that. And that's it.
It's the most prestigious tournament in the world.
Grappling tournament.
Tournament in the world. And it was happening in my city where I live today. I didn't know about this tournament, but I was prepared because I was helping my brother at that time, and so I got the opportunity.
Jacare, right?
He was fighting Jacare at that time. Yes, he was in really good shape. I was preparing, and I was, doing the whole training program independently if I was going to fight or not. And I had to find out that I was going to fight. I had to cut down 6 kilos in about a week, and I did everything right. I did cut the weight, and I felt in the best shape. In a long time, felt ready. And I won my first match, and my second match was with Marcelo Garcia. And I got caught in a guillotine in the first 30 seconds. And his best move versus a sleeping moment of my game, where in training, I was pretty tough. I was training I was training with the top guys, and that was not easy. I was able to, in training, excel against the champions of the DCC. And I was feeling like really good. And I tapped in 30 seconds. That I went on the trash on that day. But the thing I looked at, what gave me energy was I saw other great fighters also getting tapped in the early stages. So I realized it's normal. Hang on a second. I just want another opportunity to show. I just thought about the next match. I came home with a bag of ice cream because I was really hungry for a while, and I wanted just to get some steam. I frustrated myself, and I came home. I put a spoon in my mouth. What am I doing? No, put it down. Next day, ADCC Absolute, and I don't care. I'm gonna get into the Absolute.
What's ADCC Absolute?
The Absolute division.
The free division.
All the weights
Free
together.
weights.
free
Doesn't matter
weight.
your weight.
Good luck.
And then I thought, well, and then I fought the first fight with the guy who was in the final of the 99 kilos. And I fought, his name is João Assis, and I had a really good war with him, and then I came out the winner. And so that means, hang on a second, so that means I made a mistake. And then again, I put everything on the side, and now another day. And then I stepped in on the mats again. I did better. I fought Pablo Popovic in the quarterfinals. I went all the way to to the
Overtime.
overtime.
Yeah.
And I was very active for the first 10 minutes. I could have even taken the fight, but they didn't get the penalties. And then I had to fight from standing, and he's a good wrestler. I was tired, he's bigger, caught me in a takedown. And I gave again a good tournament. Did a good fight. So I made myself proud. You know, but initially I felt like on the trash. You know, I felt like on the gutter.
Yeah.
But then I just looked around, you know, I realized, hey, what's the worst that can happen? Getting tapped, I'm still alive. Get us a big hug on my son. My wife supported me.
True.
My students all came over to give me strength.
Yeah.
Next day, I went again and I performed way better.
You came in second, right?
I lost in the quarterfinals by Pablo Popovic in a takedown, and then he went on to fight Draculino in the final. And you know, it was a good tournament, and then I had my opportunities in the fight, and then straight away after that, I became world champion Ogi.
Yeah.
You know, and then I became European champion 2012. So it came from a failing day. Not next day I already performed super good, and then a few weeks later I became world champion Ogi, and then European champion, finished every single fight.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not a losing. It's not necessarily the statement of who you are. You know, you're good or bad. No, it's just a day, a fight. A mistake can happen, can lead to a submission.
True.
Or it might lead to a lot of points being scored. It doesn't judge who you are. It doesn't judge how good jiu-jitsu really is. You know, it's just a tournament.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu is merciless, man. If
It
you do a
is.
mistake,
You pay for it.
You
And
pay
then,
for
but the
it.
thing is, you're
know.
paying in a match. You lost the fight.
yeah.
You're not dead.
Yeah.
You know, your life continues, and just every single great fighter I've ever known, they lost.
That's what I find so amazing about jiu-jitsu fighters, but it's probably in the term fighter already. One of the things you have to realize is, I think it's a saying in the Gracie dojo, that in order to get your black belt, you have to tap 10,000 times, for example. You better start tapping, something like that.
It is not like something that is like a written rule or anything, but
No, it's not the 10,000, but what they're trying to
concept.
say is you have to tap, you have to
gotta tap.
lose in order to get your
if you're
black
not
belt.
tapping, you're not learning, man.
Exactly.
That's true.
I agree with that. Like, for example, I don't think like people should really take you tap 10,000 times. You
shouldn't take it literally, of course.
It's the concept.
It's the
Exactly.
concept. Yeah,
The concept of developing yourself comes from putting yourself out there. Don't be afraid to tap, because a lot of people, they do that in training.
Yeah.
They like to live their, like, even from the beginning, like let's say you're a blue belt and you're doing all right. You know, you got a good guard pass, you got a good sweep, you got a good submission. But then every single time when the hits up of the moment, the training gets heated up, you go back to that game. So if you never really experience other parts of your game, or even being under pressure, you're gonna be always like missing something.
Yeah.
Like, let's say a guy with an amazing guard, when they start specific training side control, they get mounted and tapped every single time. So what's the point having a great guard if you don't know how to escape side control? Whenever one thing fails, your whole game fails.
You have to work on your weaknesses.
Exactly. So how are you going to work on your weakness if you're not willing to be compromised?
Yeah. So we use this example a lot if we work with people who are trying to work on their mind games. If you see people trying to progress in their career in an office, for example, they always have a hard time in failing.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to make any mistakes. And then we usually use this example to teach them, no, you have to make your mistakes in order to progress.
Kind of progress.
Yes, exactly.
So you gotta go wider. You know, I train myself trying to develop games that I'm not necessarily good at. Let's learning a new skill.
Yeah.
Now, you gotta go and learn new things it could be about your business. I'm going through this process right now, developing my management skills, my office skills in ways. I'm completely feeling like I spent all my life on the mats. Now, suddenly, I look at the thing and I don't understand anything. I might as well be in a comfort zone.
This is a new ocean.
Maybe
Don't choke out the employees.
Maybe I should maybe I should stick to the programs that I'm familiar. Maybe I'm not going to learn a new program, new software, because it's that, oh man, I don't know, it's gonna get confusing. No, I want to embrace, I want to learn new things, because that's the way we learn, you know. I think that translates a lot to jiu-jitsu dojo
And everything.
into a normal life.
Everything translates to jiu-jitsu.
What happens to you, Dracu, when you in your younger years? At one point you started teaching, and then the opportunity came that you went to the USA. You saw a lot of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu practitioners and teachers taking the chance
Yeah.
for the United States of America?
This is what happens. Like in Brazil, I had a successful school in Brazil, in Belo Horizonte. I made a good living for Brazilian standards with my school, but it got to a point that I felt the need of change. I felt the need to change for my family. I had 2 kids back in the day. I have 2 kids now, and they're adults now, but they are younger. So I felt that I needed to do a step further to change, but in a good change. To try to get a little more, a little wider perspective. So I thought to myself, look, it's now or never. Because my daughter, she was like 13, and it's hard to take a teenager out when they get like 14 to 15 to take them out to the friends and boyfriend, whatever. So I did the move. I don't regret. It was great. I mean, I love my life in Texas. We developed jiu-jitsu so much in there. It was just no Gracie Barra. Now they have 17 in Texas. So
do you remember your first night teaching there? Did you make any like advertisement, or you just opened up and like?
No, it was. I mean, I didn't have an advertisement because I didn't have any money. But people talk a lot online. Like people are talking a lot. I mean, people knew who I was. Okay. Yeah. For jiu-jitsu, whatever. Say, man, Draculino is going to move to Houston, Texas. And people, it was kind of a rumor. And all of a sudden it was, you know.
But that's the cool thing about America, because I went with my professor Remco Perdue, who was fighting in the UFC in '93. It was, I think. I went with this guy to fucking Disneyland, like 15 years later, and people came up to him, like, "You're the guy from the UFC."
Yeah.
And you know, that's America. They really embrace their sport heroes. And,
they do, and man, it's crazy nowadays with the social media and about information nowadays. Nowadays we have an overload of information, right? Man, like things I would never imagine. Like I'm walking in an airport, or I'm walking, and people, hey, excuse me, are you Draculino? Yeah, sure. Oh man, I really like your stuff, your videos. Can I take a picture? So, yeah, sure. Man,
that's crazy.
To be walking in an airport and be stopped by a stranger. Man, it happens all the time. All the time. This is happening like a lot. And I was like, man, this is very cool. So I think the American culture really embraces success stories. I mean, that's a cool thing about. I mean, even if you win one day or lose, like in Brazil, man, when you lose, unfortunately, the culture's kind of like, oh man, he's gone. This guy is a best.
It's the same over here in Holland.
Yeah, he's like, man, forget about him. And then you win again, man, he's the best.
The bandwagon is back. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But in America, no, man. In America, when you're losing, they respect you. They still give you props. That's a good thing.
The same in the UK, I think. Yeah. That's people respect the story
the story. So that's a good thing.
Than just
you know how it is in Brazil, right? It's like really raw. Answering to your question. A lot of people will still migrate to the United States. Because, man, the United States, now living there for almost 10 years, it is the country of opportunities. It's out there.
Because of the people.
It's out there. The system there embraces hard work, dedication. Whatever you choose to do, you're a hard worker, if you're honest, you're going to make it. You know, it's not like in Brazil that you can do the best that you can and maybe sometimes you don't make it. You know what I mean? There, in America, it's out for grabs, man. It's up to you. You know, I'm seeing stories in America, like one of my students, he's Vietnamese, and he's a doctor. And he's a very successful doctor. His family came to America. They're the last guys, the last persons to be in a helicopter leaving Saigon from the American embassy when the North Vietnamese took Saigon. So they're literally the last people to live in a helicopter from the American embassy to vanish from the country. So they flew to, I don't know, like a nearby country, and then they're political refugees. And it was him, his brother, and his mom and dad. And they told me the story, man. This is an amazing story. So like, look, okay, we have 3 options for you guys. You can go to Canada, you can go to Brazil, or you guys can go to America. So you got to choose now where you guys want to go. Both of these 3 countries you guys can go as political refugees. And the mom said, like, you know what, guys? let's go to America because even the poor people, they are fat.
Yeah, that is true.
That's what they said. So that's what he said. So she said, like, at least she's not going to starve to death.
Yeah.
You know? And then they went to America with pretty much just their church on the back. Nowadays, his dad and mom, they own like maybe 3 or 4 like parking spots in the biggest airports in Houston. Mm. They're really wealthy. And the son is a doctor that really does well too.
Yeah.
And all comes from hard work, man. All came from like embracing the American way and make it. So, I mean, of course, people are still going to move to America because America still have that kind of mentality, which is great, you know.
How was it for you? You ended up in Brazil because of Braulio was already invited by Mauricio Gomez.
Yes, like my situation was like living in Brazil as a teenager, you know, just finished the high school and already was a blue belt, just moved to purple belt. I was like, I already medaled in the world championship, so I had like a, you know.
Because I think I had a seminar from you when you, I had a seminar from Braulio when he was a brown belt. And from you as well, I think.
Yeah, I actually came to Holland like for 10 days.
Yeah.
Once before my black belt, and I travel around.
Yeah.
Maybe I met you at some point
I met
there.
you at one of the seminars. You were one of the first guys doing flying shit. Like triangles, flying stuff, and like, yeah, it's really.
Yeah,
cool.
I had my game was like I was tailored slightly different because I was made a bit lighter, so I was able to do some jumps and stuff.
He jumps for sure.
Yeah, and I still do a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, when I was a teenager, and then my brother, he came over first to the UK through a friend, a common friend in Brazil who lived in the UK. And then he said like, oh, the money in the UK is so good. Maybe if he can work a little bit there and then come back home. It was 7 times our money back in Brazil. And he wanted to see what he can do in 6 months. And then before anything, he went to a jiu-jitsu school and met Mauricio Gomez. And then the opportunity appeared to start teaching in Birmingham. He applied for his documents, and he got documents straight away, and he started working there. And then he needed help because he was growing so much, because with a lot of interest, but not enough people to teach. And I was a purple belt, 19 years old, and I came over with this influence. I had no connections in the United States at that time. You know, probably if I didn't take that shot, the United States would be my next stop. But I didn't know. At that point, I just knew that I loved doing jiu-jitsu. I didn't know what I want to do with my life. Maybe I'm just going to give it a shot, spend 6 months in the UK, learning some English, and the minimum I'm going to have is just some experience. And I realized, oh man, maybe jiu-jitsu will do. I saw my brother teaching classes, and you could earn a decent amount of money, you know, by doing the hourly work. And then maybe 1 hour work in the UK would be the same as the minimum salary in Brazil.
Yeah.
And then I just did jiu-jitsu for free, you know. I would do it even for no money.
Just don't eat in the mics because our listeners.
No, you can eat.
Put the mic away a little bit.
Sorry, guys. Otherwise, it's gonna be there now. And so it was like that really tricky situation. And so when I went to the UK, I really enjoyed that living from jiu-jitsu would be a possibility. Yeah. And I fell in love with the idea because for me it was not like working, it was just like having fun. Yeah. And if I could maybe live and pay my bills one day with jiu-jitsu, that's what I was gonna do. Yeah. So that's when I decided to, on that day, to kind of make my move. And because the connection we had was in the UK, we made friends and we created our roots. And then the references started to become, you know, jiu-jitsu related for the years that came after that we were doing and organizing events. And I became like, I got hired and everything started to become like a proper. Yeah. And by that time in 2007, I was already there established with my brother's school was already established. We organized events like the British Open, which is like the biggest tournament in the UK. And still is today, like over 1,000 people competing. Started with 150. So it is like an amazing thing because most people go to the United States because of the land of opportunities, but I think there is opportunity in many different places.
I was really surprised by it because you know, the European Jiu Jitsu, the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu got brought to Europe by my trainer Remco.
Yeah.
like in.
Can never forget that, man. He was the OG.
1996.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I wasn't training at him at the time because I'm the second generation, I think, or third generation that started training with Remco. But like we're doing seminars, you know, bringing people over, driving to every country, doing competitions and stuff. And I saw the progress in the UK at one point, and it just took over. It's just a lot of people got into it, a lot of good competition fighters, a lot of Brazilians opening schools there. And I was really surprised by England. Can you say England is dominating Brazilian Jiu Jitsu in Europe?
I can for sure tell that in the UK we have the most. The medalists, perhaps the volume of medals, I'm not sure it can be like something I can actually answer. Yeah. But I can say that the most amount of schools,
that's
the most amount of students, of tournaments, the whole Jiu Jitsu community. We have like brands of, you know, all the Jiu Jitsu development, merchandise, everything comes more in the UK because of the amount of main black belts professors that went there to develop, you know, like Roger Gracie, Lagarto, Braulio. I went on that myself, and we all people who competed internationally, and then it created like a lot of attention on the region, and then that the development started to come from there. So you see like countries like Netherlands, which has always had jiu-jitsu, you know, and then that also added into the good connection between UK and the Netherlands. There was like a big crossover between myself, Braulio, and many other athletes. And then also the rest of Europe, we started to feel these influences. Everybody traveled to Brazil, and that started to exchange a lot of information. I think the whole continent developed. But because of the concentrations of international known black belts in the UK, he created enough attention to create like to create the hype in the UK.
Yeah, I think Eastern Europe is now coming up.
Yes, 100%. They are very huge.
I'm pretty glad that I don't compete too much anymore. Because those guys, man, animals, you know.
Man, I was in Poland.
I was just thinking that Polish monsters,
Polish
man.
black belts, just,
man, like,
you know,
that's horrible. What is it with these guys? What's in the water over there? Why are these guys so incredibly strong?
They just like to fight. I'm telling you, they like to fight.
They're tough. They're tough people. But you know what's cool there, man? I go there I've been there like 12 times actually. And I coordinate a big team there, you know, it's huge. And man, like those guys are tough as nails, but they have like the kindest hearts, man.
Yeah.
They are. They're very nice
it's
people.
super cool because, man, like you see those guys with the ears like that, but man, they're the nicest guys and very respectful. Man, I love that country. And perhaps it's one of the biggest you know, countries in jiu-jitsu now.
I think that they are like has the. I think they have I think one of the biggest high level competitors in Europe.
How are they in?
They had the smallest amount of competitors at the Europeans this year, but the most prizes.
That's probably right.
That's what I can tell you say that.
How are they in sparring over there in Poland? Because we had an experience with a Polish guy when we were sparring and training. This guy we were working together, and all of a sudden we saw a guy flying through the room, and it was this one Polish guy. He was a wrestler, and he suplexed this guy just in the middle of sparring. We were like, "What the fuck are you doing? You can just throw people like that."
We were just doing free sparring, free rolling, and we had this. What's his name again?
Well, it was one of those typical Polish guys you described.
Yeah, but like, not in a mean way. It's just how it is, right? That's how it is.
There was a game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, man, that's what we do. I mean, I'm sorry, but.
But it was a funny thing. Like he couldn't really speak Dutch, so he was just like, "Yeah, I want to train." And it's like, "Did you train anything?" No. And he just didn't understand. And then at one point, he suplexed another recreational training guy.
Oh my God!
Of 120 kilograms. And he just grabs him and he suplexes him up to the air. And
slam
into the mat. Everyone's like, "What the fuck?"
I think for them, it's just how it is. That's how it is for them.
Exactly.
But it's not doing
That's how they are?
Yeah, it's not like you will. It's just, man, I mean,
it's the environment.
That's how it's supposed to do, right? Kind of like this.
Yeah, that's what's supposed to do. It's not what's supposed to do. But they don't understand that because that's the environment they are creating the training. But I have a lot of Polish students, and they are naturally physical. They're naturally strong. And
tough people, man.
And then for them, they I think it's something to do with the culture because they don't accept, like the techniques, technique, but boom.
They
want to fight. You know, so they have like in their back of their minds that being strong, it's what matters.
They think raw power trumps technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They naturally believe in this. But those ones who are more willing to learn the technique and the mix with the power, those are the guys who...
That's really dangerous.
Well, it's a really masculine culture as well, you know.
Yeah.
Like just,
like I'm married to a Polish wife, so I've been around...
Does she suplex you as well?
Every day. Every day.
She's taller than him, man. She can probably, you know...
No, like I really...
Yeah, sure.
I really do have like have a lot of I find the Polish community, you know, a very, very special community. You know, I think there's a lot of great things. Of course, there are challenges. You know, for example, like once they understand the technical bit, they are very dedicated people. They're like on the mats, and they are hardworking. Doesn't matter what they do. You know, they are like, you know, like my father-in-law, for example. Man, the guy knows how to do everything.
Yeah.
He knows how to do literally everything. He knows everything in the house. He can fix his own car.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I can't do that.
I can't do anything. No. And those guys, they learn how to. They're very clever. They're very hardworking. I never see a guy like a Polish guy saying, "Oh no,
not today. I don't feel like it."
It's not lazy. It's very, you know. Yeah, there's a lot to learn from this mentality. You know, I think they're pretty special people. That's why I think if Jiu-Jitsu develops more in that area, they will even get more success. Yeah. But I still think that in general, there's very power-orientated fighters.
Must be hard to teach seminars there because you always have to sort of prove the whole technique trumps power bit.
It is a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But there are places that when people knows you, they kind of comes with more of a learning mentality. Understanding mentality.
Yeah.
If you go to a place that they don't really know much about Jiu-Jitsu, they kind of will question everything you say, or they question your level as an instructor. Who are you to come and teach me? You know, that kind of mentality. And but most places I've been, they have a completely different mentality. You know, they come over, they already understand, you know, we already proved on the mats, not necessarily on a seminar.
Yeah.
So the attitude can be changed. But having said that, I have experienced some really...
Still?
A few years ago, I had to kind of physical handle some guys because they were trying to be challenging. You know, like even while doing techniques, like you share, imagine I'm teaching, and this day, I had like a spasm in my back. I was actually a bit injured from training heavy with my brother. And I was, hey guys, I'm a little bit injured. I have a spasm in my back. I can't do very well. So I will do my best here to be with you guys, you know. And then during the techniques, I was just showing the guy. I wanted to teach him how to get out of a guillotine. And this guy, and then I did the guillotine on him. And no, turn your head this way, put the position this way. And then halfway through, he got out of the guillotine I was doing. He picked me up into a takedown, throwing me on the ground.
Great, awkward.
And I was like, dude, I just told everyone that I had a bad back. He maybe didn't understand my language. Maybe, but he got out of the guillotine, like I was almost like fighting me, and he picked me up to drop me on the floor, and I, you know, magically hooked myself into his legs, and I hang on his neck. So whenever he dropped me, I was attached to his neck.
Yeah.
And then I had to kind of make a tighter choke, you know.
You had to make a point. You had to regulate the situation.
Yeah, 100%. It was not a nice feeling because it was a little bit uncomfortable to having to do this in a seminar where I really, you know, was dedicated to help the person. But I think it was more to do with that person rather than a group.
It's ego. I've had that happen to me once in a kickbox seminar where a guy wanted to go, and then you can tell when they're not sparring at 30% anymore. This guy is going at 90, 80% of what he has. When I was younger, I would just roll with that. Nowadays, I just stop the dynamic. I'm like, this is not all right. But I completely get where you're coming from. Sometimes that just has to happen. And it's so funny. You come there to learn, and something in this guy's ego or machismo probably acts up. He's like, he's a black belt. He's better than me. This is my opportunity to show the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more
to do with that.
Yeah,
It's the same guy who injures everyone, right?
Yeah.
You have to watch out to this guy because he can twist your ankle and he gets a chance, you know.
Every gym has one of these guys.
Yeah, there's always people. I think it's related to personality rather than like where you come from.
I feel, this is like, it's a world phenomenon, man. It's not going to be only in one country or the other. There's
Yeah.
always
Gonna
going
be
to
all-
be.
And if you're listening to this and you're going, I don't have a guy like that at my gym.
So
you're probably
look out
that
for
guy.
them.
Yeah.
That's from you. That's true. That's a good one.
So I wanna. You guys are now in Europe. You're doing a tour, Draco,
Yes.
to Europe. You brought Victor with you. And what is the big vision for Gracie Barra and the sport in Europe? What's the mission at the moment?
Man, like, Gracie Barra is already the biggest jiu-jitsu organization in history, in the history of the art. And it's growing exponentially. Now it's a matter of trying to, number one, educate everybody who's part of the team. Number two, organize. And number three, conquer, I would say, right? Because we have in our hands something huge. Something, again, that my master, Carlos Gracie Jr., visualized long time ago. He visualized that big organization, being kind of pretty much synonym of jiu-jitsu, in the world. So it's now a matter of us to tell people here in Europe about what is the vision, what exactly we mean, what exactly Gracie Barra stands for and means. This is the vision. This is how things are working. This is stories of success. When people get that and believe that,
It's
that's
like
great.
It's changing everything.
It changes everything. And then it's time for them, okay, man, I love the vision. I want to embrace the vision.
So share a little bit about that vision. What is the vision of Gracie Barra?
The vision is that jiu-jitsu can be a tool. I genuinely think about that. I believe this with all my heart, that jiu-jitsu, it can be a tool to make the world better. I think if everybody trained jiu-jitsu, I think we're going to have a more tolerant world, a more healthier world, like a braver, in a good way, world. I think that everybody can benefit. Doesn't matter who you are, you can benefit from jiu-jitsu training. I mean, martial arts are great. All martial arts are great. I'm saying jiu-jitsu because that's what I do. But I mean, let's say martial arts. I think that through the correct philosophical training, the correct method, the correct way to expose jiu-jitsu, we can make a better world for sure. And in order to make a better world, more people have to be exposed to jiu-jitsu. You see that back in the day, only the tough, the brave, the really like tough-minded fighter guy was doing jiu-jitsu. Man, nowadays, we have all kinds of people. Man, I have my gym in Texas. I have everybody. You can name it, like the older guy, the older lady, the young kid, the 4-year-old kid, the autistic kid,
Disabled kid.
the lady that got, the lady that got like before raped and almost committed suicide. She's there. So everybody, I have like in Texas now, I have like a mini world in my gym versus it was a little bit in Brazil, like the toughest guys. So I have everything in that. I have toughest guys too. I have like 2 UFC fighters that train with me in my gym.
Yeah.
Where you have Rafael Sapo, right?
Rafael, he lives in he lives in New York.
Okay.
He teaches at Renzo Gracie's, but he comes to me before the fights to do his camps. I have Juliana Lima. Her name is Jutai. She's one of the female fighters. And I have another kid that is coming up in UFC now, a 125 kid that did all his training with me. And I'm really proud of the kid, Robert Sanchez. So he's about to go like soon, So yeah.
So like going back to the mentality of the vision and what it is that Gracie Barra stands for, is like, again, we know the benefits of jiu-jitsu. And we want to make sure that we can pass it on and more people can experience that and live their own version of the benefits of jiu-jitsu. And in order to reach more people, we need to have the right environment.
That's right.
It's not any environment that you can be suitable for everyone. So we basically are organizing ourselves to explain and to share the idea. In order to conquer this vision, you need to have a suitable environment.
You're making it more accessible for everybody, open to the world, like you described.
100%, but let's make it clear. We're making more accessible, but we're not softening it.
No.
That doesn't mean that we are kind of like sell out.
Garden jiu-jitsu. No,
No,
exactly. None of
We're
that.
not selling out in the sense that, man, we're going to make the training really light, just like cardio style kind of thing. No, not at
that's
all.
not the
That's
point at
not
all.
the case.
Otherwise, the
training-
benefits wouldn't be right.
Yeah, exactly.
The training is still tough. The training is still technical. The training is still like he always was. But we divide. We have programs. We have different classes.
Mm-hmm.
We have the dojo rules that everybody needs to follow. It's not going to be like a fight club.
That's
You
why
know
we
what I
got
mean?
we got different environments for different type of people.
Yeah, so it's not like, oh, we're going to go there and Gracie Barra people don't train hard anymore. No, man. I mean, the last European tournament, Gracie Barra was the team champion in a tournament with 4,000 people.
Yeah, so let me see if I understand this straight. What you're basically doing is you have this public of people that might want to get into jiu-jitsu. Some would be housewives, some would be young guys.
Yes,
and
sir.
you approach them differently. That's basically what you're doing. The housewives get a different program than the young bucks that want to go fight.
Exactly, sir.
Makes
It's
sense.
creating the
Yeah.
different types of environment for different types of people and different goals.
All right,
Exactly.
yeah.
And our program, Gracie Barra program, offers that.
Offers
It's there. It's easy to follow.
Yeah.
Whenever we say jiu-jitsu for everyone, what does jiu-jitsu for everyone stands for? A competitor is part of everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's be able to deliver accordingly to the right people.
Yeah, but because it was traditionally meant as a martial arts and just exclusively for that group, and now that you're, putting it in a bigger public.
And then if we get to that people to experience the values and the benefits of jiu-jitsu, which again, the benefits of jiu-jitsu that we spoke, overcoming challenges, being comfortable under pressure, all those things.
Getting physically fit,
You only
moving
can
your
actually
body.
you can only benefit if you actually have those pressures, if you have those experience. But it's not expecting everybody to be the same.
No,
Exactly.
You cannot treat people in the same way.
I agree. I fully agree.
We're all different people here.
Yes,
you know?
and everybody responds differently to physical activity or the mental pressure. So yeah, if you want the habit to stick, you differentiate your approach. I totally
Exactly,
get
and
that.
like everything else, the beginning of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu martial arts, it was on the underground world. It was unprofessional. It was just like a bunch of guys getting together to do some roles and to be able to bring this approach or okay, let's create proper classes, let's create a proper mats, create a proper structure.
Well, he just described how it was in the early days, just gym owners going up against each other. You can't have that anymore right now. Gym challenges are a thing of the past, I guess.
But you know what, man? I'm glad that it was like that, to be honest. I mean, I like the old times.
I get that, yeah.
In a way that it made me proud to see where I'm at now. To see how it was and the way it was, the way I was, like I was introduced to the art and the way I lived my life for a long time, and see how evolved we got.
You got that.
That makes me really proud, man. Like when I go to Gracie Barra conferences, there we have like 500 people. Like the one we had in Brazil now, we had one in November. There was like 500 people.
Yeah.
Man, everybody kind of like in a room with 500 people with like a huge screen with presentations. He actually gave a presentation, Victor did, with like PowerPoint, with everybody like taking notes on iPads and all that. Man, I look at all that. I was like, dang.
If you think where you came from,
Man, that is pretty cool.
But I think
I'm really proud of that.
I think that was necessary as well, though. Just like the UFC had those early days where it was really tough.
Exactly.
The Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu needed that as well to show everybody the stuff really works.
It works.
Yeah.
Everything has their own, like every history. It needs the stages, the primal, we're going to do develop and now modern, it goes through the process. And again, I always believe that my dad taught me one day, like an intelligent person learn from their own mistakes.
Yeah.
A wise man, a wise person learns from the mistake of the other person. So in essence,
I'm more an intelligent guy then.
no, I was just describing my point of view. Is I didn't live this.
True.
Professor Draculino did live that, and I learned from the good things and learn from the bad
things that could have been improved.
That happened on that time. So my generation, we didn't have to do that. It's already done by our previous generation, but we learned from those mistakes, like in history. Right?
Yeah.
We need to create embrace and bring it to a new level.
Yeah.
Fight our battles now is fought differently, but we still fight battles.
Oh, of course.
We still have challenges, just different ones.
Yeah, but those are organizational. But the thing is, it's all still about the jiu-jitsu and the tool jiu-jitsu. And I was wondering about that a little because it's funny to have two generation fighters sitting here. Yeah. And if I remember my early Brazilian jiu-jitsu lessons and I look at the techniques and the way the sport itself evolved and all the new, you know, guards and techniques and all the stuff that's going on there. How do you guys look at the evolution of jiu-jitsu in that regard? Because I know the Gracie jiu-jitsu also had a big part of street defense as a part of it. Is that still part of your philosophy, or is it just strictly to the regular jiu-jitsu?
I mean, I can tell you, I think I was blessed to be a part of a really strong competition generation because of our rivalry with Rickson Gracie team and all that. But at the same time, I learned Jiu-Jitsu straight from the Gracie, so the self-defense part was a huge thing always. So I always taught in my schools, and I still teach the fundamental Jiu-Jitsu, which is pretty much based on self-defense awareness. What is fundamental Jiu-Jitsu? Is Jiu-Jitsu against a guy who doesn't know Jiu-Jitsu, a regular aggressor. This is basic Jiu-Jitsu. What's basic Jiu-Jitsu? It's you fighting against a guy who doesn't understand Jiu-Jitsu. The guy that you mount him, he's going to try to push you off.
Yeah.
The guy that you get his back, he's going to try to lift and jump back. That's the kind of guy, that's the kind of Jiu-Jitsu you learn on the fundamental level. And you have to know that, of course. What's advanced Jiu-Jitsu? Jiu-Jitsu versus Jiu-Jitsu. And that's where all the evolution comes.
Exactly.
Even the basics evolve, but the basics are the basics. I mean, it's kind of like jab, cross, hook in boxing. You have to learn that.
A guard is still a guard, but on the other hand...
And then you're going to begin to tweak a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, you know, angle, head move, it's the same thing. So I always carry... the Gracie Barra way, I think, for me, is perfect. Because we have the basics, the tradition, the self-defense awareness, and we have a super strong competition team that I don't need to go over the titles because it's already written in history. The Gracie Barra is among the biggest ever. So we have it all. And what happens today, I got your question because what you said and asked is that because nowadays, unfortunately, there's been a division of Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
And that scares me a lot because I see some people saying that, man, screw this competition thing. This is not realistic. Jiu-Jitsu was made for self-defense in the first place. I'm going to stick to that because this competition thing, it's not realistic and it's useless. So I hate that. And there's other people, they go like, man, this old school self-defense things that, man, like you keep learning the same thing over and over and over again. It gets boring, whatever. I don't like that. So we just do competition Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was getting at. Because if I look at the modern day jiu-jitsu, I see 50-50 guards, brimbolos, I see lapel guards. I'm like, yeah, I get it with a gi. But how does this translate to my MMA class? Or how do I use this? It's hard.
Again.
That's tough. But at the same time, to defeat someone in a gi who's very good at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, coming from that other angle, that's great. Yes, I get that. That's new. That's
I truly believe that Jiu-Jitsu is made to deal with any type of situation. It's your interpretation and your ability to adapt, your ability to be resilient to the situation. Like when I think the idea is that people, when they see it in two different edges, like, okay, self-defense or this kind of game, all that, is only because they didn't have a chance to actually develop themselves in a way to see that actually everything is one.
That's exactly right.
I think everything is actually one. I don't need to grab a sleeve. If the guy does, I need the arm control. I don't need the sleeve control. The sleeve is a tool I use to control the arm.
Yeah.
But I really truly need the arm control. I use the collar control because I wanted to control his upper body. So if I don't have a collar, I grab his head. What I need is an up control, is an up top control. So whenever you start to see that everything is actually the same and you actually need to control parts of the body, not the sleeve or whatever, and you just become like independent of gi, no gi. Some people tell me before, it was about gi and no gi version. Gi, I don't like no gi. Pô, you don't like no gi because you didn't do enough no gi to realize it's actually the same as gi. You just adapt the game, and then of course you're not gonna do spider guard, trying to hold sleeve because there's no sleeve to grab.
The best no-gi players are gi players.
Exactly.
That's one thing that I always say. How come the best no-gi guys
are
gi guys? And then they come with all these theories, all these things. Oh, because there's more practitioners with the gi than no-gi. No. Oh, because of this and that. No, man, it's because jiu-jitsu, it's everything is jiu-jitsu.
It's jiu-jitsu.
You know, the self-defense part, the basics, the takedowns, let's not forget that. The basic striking, all this, you have to have knowledge of the whole art. And people are trying to subdivide and get those theories. I don't know what's the authority that some people have to have those theories and throw out there, and people listen to these morons, you know.
Sideline
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, man, like everything is jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is like huge.
Yeah, everything.
And you have to have exposure to it all. Oh, I hate gi. Gi is useless. Oh, no, gi is garbage. No, man, it's part of jiu-jitsu, brother.
Hey, Professor.
Like it or not, to have to do it. That's what I tell my students. Like it or not. That's part of jiu-jitsu, man. If you want to be a black belt one day under me, you have to have understanding of all it all. Oh, I don't like to do these self-defense moves. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I have to know. You have to know, have to understand. I refuse to make students that are like undimensional speaking about jiu-jitsu. I never had one black belt that, oh, I never did no gi in my life. Oh, I never did gi in my life. Oh, I hate takedowns. I never do. No, man. All of them have their games, but they got exposed to it all.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
Do you remember, Professor, the little video I shared with you yesterday about the successful person and an unsuccessful person?
Yeah, it was great, actually.
You know, the successful person, he doesn't blame his own fault on other people. He takes accountability to his own mistakes.
Exactly.
A successful person, he embraces changes. He doesn't don't like changes.
Criticize and shuts down.
You know what I mean? And like, again, you cannot stop looking for the whole thing. You got to embrace the whole thing. You cannot have just a part of jiu-jitsu. You got to be good in everything. And again, if you're a successful person, if you have a mentality of a successful person, you're not going to limit yourself to learn just one side of it.
Yeah.
How can you be a real black belt that you don't know to use the principles of jiu-jitsu to get out in a situation of a street?
The guys know how to do berimbolo really well. And then a bigger, strong guys put them on a headlock, they can't escape. What is this?
That cannot happen.
This doesn't fit in my mind.
And the same way...
You know what I mean? Oh, I'm a sport guy. I'm a sport guy. Come on, man. You go against everything we preach. You go against everything the Gracies taught us, philosophical, the philosophy and all that. Man, you know...
You can't do that. The same way we cannot shut our eyes to 50-50, to berimbolo, to lapel guard.
Of course.
The same way.
Yeah.
No, we
actually
everything.
study this more than the other stuff. Because this intrigues us. This is new. So we need to kind of like, man, I think more about berimbolo defenses and offenses than I think about escaping from the headlock nowadays.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because it's something that is new.
Exactly.
For me. And I kind of like try to, I mean, I cannot do berimbolo well because I have like a really bad neck with herniated discs, but at least I need to understand how to do it to shut it down. I cannot just say, man, this is garbage. No, I don't like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to ignore this.
No, you can't. You can't.
You cannot ignore anything.
No.
Jiu-jitsu, and then Jiu-jitsu teaches you that. Jiu-jitsu teaches you that.
Jiu-jitsu puts you on your place,
you have to be constantly developing.
Yeah.
The Jiu-jitsu I knew 5 years ago has moved to what it is today. It's not the same.
Not at all.
It's not the same.
Do you have an idea where it is going? Like, you know, you have the 50-50 guard coming up and berimbolos and the things we're talking about. Do you see any new trends coming up?
I actually had this question before. I don't know if you have the same answer, Professor. Like, somebody asked me this question before, and where I think Jiu-Jitsu is going. Like, at this very moment, there is a trend of influences of foot attack. There's like a lot of...
foot attacks.
Foot locks, heel locks, ankle locks.
Isn't that your specialty?
I do like that.
It must be, I was about to say that. It must be fun to have a technique actually named after you. There's this Estima lock, which is a foot lock.
You know, the other day, you know, I was thinking, with the big dilemma, you know, where's my career is going, you know, like, I won't be a competitor for the rest of my life, you know. And then the other day, I just opened my Facebook account and I saw a video of Edwin doing an Estima lock.
He's really good on that too.
And then he pulled it, and all the commentators mentioning the Estima lock and this. And I looked to myself, man, people know.
Yeah, that's a legacy.
And then I thought, I'm not competing, but it's there.
Yeah.
And then that was a realization. And I have to feel, of course, proud of leaving something on the jiu-jitsu world that I never thought I would ever do that. I never really aimed for that as well. When I kind of had this opportunity, I didn't even call my name either. I put my family name just to be something that to be there, not in a selfish way, but just and as a statement. And then I was I feel really proud actually, because I could come up with something that was different than what I did before. And then now I see other people, when I see somebody else doing it.
Estima.
And calling it, and that's the key, because if you do it something really good, and only you are good at that, it's one thing. But whenever you're good at something and you do a lot, and other people do it as well, and then that's for me makes me feel happier, because I can see that it's efficient technique, and then people will use for a long time to go, because it's a very efficient technique. So again, the trend is like I can feel that a lot of people talking a lot more about heel hooks.
Yeah.
A lot of, it changed the game a little bit. Because, for example, a lot of people say, Jiu-Jitsu doesn't talk much about heel hooks. The only reason why is because by the rules, it's dangerous, people can get hurt, and careers can be finished early because of heel hook attacks.
You can finish somebody's life, basically like, not being able to work for several weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So because of that reason, we've been very passive on that, never really teach so much of our students. But then there are some people who didn't care about that and became experts on that. So whenever they bring an expert in something that most people are not, it creates a change. Like, there's a lot of people need to learn more how to defend them. So it's creating a bit of a hype, especially with the no time fights, like a submission only tournaments. Everything is allowed, ADCCs and all things like that.
Because it makes it spectacular, and it's one of the things they say about jiu-jitsu competitions. It gets boring. Sitting in 50-50.
Exactly. So whenever I can see the trend of heel hook attacks, like heel attacks and knee bars and everything coming back to a bigger play now. And because of those influences of tournaments. Because IBJJF wouldn't be allowed, for example. So that means it would never be explored. Now it's bringing this trend. I am already studying a lot of this, reactions, and especially, in my opinion, defenses. Because if somebody is only very good in doing heel hooks, and if you shut it down, what is that person? Exactly. Right? The game jiu-jitsu, again, that's that game plays the mentality of an open-mind jiu-jitsu person needs to be learning everything.
Don't be that guy that only knows leg locks.
Yeah, or the guillotine.
And now, like, just talking about that, I agree 100% with Victor. You see the new foot lock, leg lock trend. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love them. And I was actually like pretty decent on heel hooks. I did heel hook and kind of like a flying heel hook under, going under in an MMA fight in Strike Force and all that. So I like that game a lot. But some people are trying to sell the idea. Again, people that are pretty much just left their diapers in jiu-jitsu, time-wise.
Really vulnerable for this.
They like, man, this is the way it is. This is the only way, Points are useless, positioning are useless, and, like, foot locks are the most effective thing in the world and all that. So they came with that idea, and they're trying to prove a point through that idea. And they're like, they had some success on that. And recently, I don't know if you guys followed that, but one of the students that come from my school in Brazil, Felipe Pena, his nickname is Preguiça. He had a challenge match of no time limit against supposedly the biggest expert in full locks, heel hooks, and all that. He was considered a king. That guy even wears like a crown or something.
Was he? Gary?
No, it's not Gary. It's
no, not Gary Ton. I think Ryan something.
Gordon Ryan.
Gordon Ryan.
Yeah,
Yeah, really good, really good.
Nicky Ryan, yeah.
And he actually proactively proactively challenged my student Felipe, because Felipe is a big name in Jiu-Jitsu de gi, for a match, no time limit, no gi, on supposedly his rules, the rules he thinks are the best rules.
Most beneficial for
the
him.
most beneficial. And then it was kind of like a little awkward situation, because Felipe told me, and this guy, Gordon Ryan, trains at Renzo's gym, and me and Renzo, we go along like, he's like my older brother. And I always consider him to be in the same team. So I told Felipe, don't even say nothing. Just relax. And Felipe was telling me, man, like, this is going too far. This guy's like being proactively calling me out. And then a couple of backstage talks and all that. All right, let's do it. Let's see how it happens. Man, Felipe trains 95% of his time with the gi. He's a gi competitor. He took out his gi to train for this match probably 4 weeks. Actually, Braulio, his brother, went there to help him out, because Braulio has really good insights about that kind of game, and the body type of Braulio is really similar to the guy, so Braulio went there to help him. And that kid Felipe never did that kind of rules in his life. His competition in experience in no gi is not even close to the gi.
He only had one tournament at ADCC,
Just
right?
one tournament, just the ADCC he had. And he went there and submitted the guy.
And defended every heel hook.
He defended every heel hook. The guy couldn't even get close to finish, and Felipe ended up getting his back and choking him out. Yeah. And it was funny, because before the match, I talked to him, was talking to them a lot, him and Romulo Barral, another student of mine, he was his corner man. I said, man, I see this match going like this. And it's funny, because it was exactly the way I described them in a WhatsApp text. It happened. They were like, man, like you were like a psychic or something.
It's like jiu-jitsu.
And exactly, and then that exactly what happened. So this was a proof that a big overall vision and training of jiu-jitsu can be really effective in all areas. And then Felipe said, okay, man, let's do it on a gi now. I did on your rules, let's do it in my rules. He said, no. I don't want to do it in the gi. But I mean, hopefully, more people gonna be like open to the idea. Don't call us old man or like this kind of guys who think you know it all. No, man, I'm just listen to experience. I mean, we're a little older. The only thing that comes with being old is experience. So listen to, man, open your mind. Jiu-jitsu is vast. Don't close your eyes. Don't try to sectorize jiu-jitsu, man. It's not good for anybody.
Not even vast. It's ever expanding. If you look at it,
Exactly.
it never stops.
It never stops.
And trust me, there's going to be a lot of heel hooks variations coming.
And defenses.
Yeah. Everybody's studying that.
I'm studying it right now.
I just got told that we have little time left. We need to start wrapping up. But I'm holding my finger on this paper since the beginning, because we started with a question, Draculino. There's a story about that behind that name. We can't finish the podcast without knowing how you got your nickname.
All right. There's a lot of theories.
Yeah.
Don't believe all the hype.
That was the one I was thinking about. Draculino must mean he bites during competition or something like that.
He got DQ'd a lot. And,
no, that's not true. The truth is that it's kind of like a very common and ordinary situation. I was a kid, and there was this math teacher of mine.
Yeah.
And all those teachers that wants to be kind of the center of attention of the group and make everybody laugh. He's always like the smart-ass, funny guy.
Yeah.
There's one of those kind of teachers, And I was actually always small guy, skinny, and my eyes are a little dark underneath, if you notice. Not anymore too much, but they were more when I was younger. And then I was talking during class, or this guy's class. So the guy stopped the class and said, like, hey, you know what? You look like a vampire, kid. You look like but you're small. So you look like a small Dracula. So your nickname is going to be Draculino. And actually, Inho in Portuguese means like something small.
You're like small Dracula.
It's small Dracula. And then, man, everybody, all my classmates,
that sticks. That has a stick.
They laugh. And of course, I hated it.
It sounds really evil.
I really hated it.
Must be a fucking
And man, I didn't like it for years.
But you rolled with it.
People want to make me mad. They say Draculino, but man, nowadays I'm glad. It's like It's part of who I am. Even my mom comes with Draculino now.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
It's even hard to remember your first name.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know my first and last name. People know me Draculino, man. And it worked out. I'm thankful now to the smart ass math teacher who tried to bully me in front of everybody. Now, sucker. See what happens.
And on that note,
I'm here in Amsterdam and in a podcast because I'm Draculino, man. Thank you very much.
We have to end with that, guys. We have to go to a seminar, so we have to leave. I really appreciate you guys coming here, man.
This was great.
It's been a real blessing.
Thank you, man. It was great.
Powerhouses of the sport, and I really enjoy it. Hope to if you guys next time, please. Sure.
yeah, I have so many more questions we didn't even touch. So
Yeah, we can come back, man. It was great. I had a great time with the
Thank
tea
you for the
here and
opportunity,
everything.
guys.
great.
It was awesome.
Thank you so much, and listeners, thank you for listening.
That's a wrap.
Next time.
All right,
All the best,
ciao.
guys.